Welcome to Real Herbalism Radio, recorded live at River Road Studios. Today's show is brought to you by Get Healthy Now with Candace.
Get healthy now, not later, not before, already now, and not tomorrow, now, right?
Okay, right now.
If you'd love to do a consult and look at ways that you can get more healthy in your life, that you can improve your current feelings of wellness and lifestyle, give me a shout. You can look me up at gethealthynow.com or gethealthynowwithcandace.com.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Occupy Medical.
Occupy Medical is changing. We have...
What?
Yes, I know. It's really weird, but I've always in the past said we're a street reach, and we're still doing street reach. We're just doing it a different way. We have a place in Springfield, and we also have a clinic that we have opened and have been doing for the last couple of months in Eugene. And that's the street reach part where we're specifically working with people that are unhoused. The clinic that we have in Springfield is a building, and we have two suites of it. And one part is for hygiene supplies and food for people that are struggling. They can just come in and get whatever they need. Mm-hmm. And then we have the other part, which is the medical part with the herbal part of it, and then the counseling as well as the integrated health part. And that is just because we have a place, just like anybody that's coming out of being unhoused to being housed, they find all of a sudden all of these survival skills that they needed to have time for. They don't need to have time for it anymore because, they got four walls around us, and that's the same thing for us. So it's been great to be able to burst out and do a whole bunch more projects. So
how can people contribute?
Well, we are a 501c3, and that is there's a bunch of information that we have on Facebook and Twitter and on our website at occupy-medical.org. All
right. And we're now, our next sponsor is Mud Paw Design House. It's, formerly Hunter Creation. This is the first time we're talking about it over the air, if you will. So Mud Paw Design House is a company that Candace and I run and own, and it is graphic design and website design. If you're looking for a website that will match your branding of your printed materials, we can help you out. Or if you have printed materials and need a website, we can help you out with that too. So let us know at mudpahdesignhouse.com.
And that's a mud paw, like a dog paw. That's muddy.
Paw design.com or mudpahdesignhouse.com.
That's cute.
Right. All right. And how about you, Sue?
What about me?
What do you bring to the table?
What do I bring to the table? Well, I've got two. Should I just talk about the two things real quick?
Sure.
I'll talk about Patreon first. So I mentioned before about Occupy Medical, and I do a lot of stuff just during the week working with people that I cannot bill them. I just can't. They don't have any money. But being a community herbalist, the work, I've been doing this for so long, the work just has to be done. So I am asking for people to donate to my Patreon account so that I can continue working with people. And with that kind of sponsorship, that means that I could also continue training other folks that want to open up clinics like we have. And I've been doing that, and I've just been kind of doing it for free. So we need community herbalism in this country, and I am willing to be the voice of experience. So I just need support from people. And you can go to my Patreon account at www.patreon.com/Sue Sierra Lupe.
Okay. That's really cool.
Yep. That's just one of them.
Do you have any more? Do you have any supporters already?
So I do. I have a couple of wonderful supporters that have been brave enough to put in for, one of them as a one-time supporter, and then the others are monthly supporters.
Nice.
Yep. So
all right. Did you have something else?
Thank you very much. Yes. So there's also Sierra Lupe Herbal Consulting, and that's at gmail.com. And that is my business that I do herbal consulting, and that is for people get charged per hour for that one. So they get the same kind of service. And I can come to people's houses and do things online, and that's available. So you've heard the genius. Now you can have that in your life too.
All right. Ace High Heat Graphics, custom imprinted shirts and caps and everything else that you can wear. They're specializing in event wear. So if you are an herbal organization and you are putting on a fair or a festival and you need to have 200-300 shirts done, that Ace High Heat Graphics can help you out and save you a lot of money.
Yeah.
The other thing that Ace High Heat Graphics is doing is also doing branded wear for companies. So for within the company. So if you are a herbal organization and you have employees and people and volunteers that you want to have them all wearing like the same shirts, or they would like to support the company by purchasing a shirt, that's another thing that Ace High Heat Graphics does.
In fact, we're doing a company store for a large client right now. So their employees can go there and buy their shirts. We did a promotion for that company, and all the employees liked the shirts so much that they wanted to buy them for workwear.
Nice.
So they said, "Can you help us with that?" So we're setting them up with an online store.
That's really cool. And with the political season brewing up, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would want their slogans written on their shirts too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. All right. And finally, the Herbal Nerd Society, for which we would not be able to do any of this.
Right.
Right.
Yes. We are thankful for the Herbal Nerd Society.
When I don't want to come here some days and record because I got other things to do, I just remember there's a bunch of Herbal Nerd Society members paying me to get here.
Yeah, I know. And they get content every single week. We put an article together.
So above and beyond the more advanced herbal articles for the Herb of the Month, we also have access to all of the old podcasts from which we realize today we've done this for about 6 years now. So we have 180 episodes, 160 of which are in the backlog. So you have 160 episodes of podcasts that you can get a hold of if you're the Practical or the Herbal Nerd Society member. And also you get an ad-free viewing experience. No pop-ups, no, banner ads, no Google ads. It's just straight content.
Yep. And the Let's Talk series, where we have a section where people can listen to some of our guests give a specific information about their chosen topic.
That's right. All right, on with the show. Welcome to Real Herbalism Radio, show 185. It's our Herb Lab show with talking about wildcrafting, and we had the lovely Howie and Christina in our studio last week, and they talked all about wildcrafting in the desert, and they talked about wildcrafting in our area of Oregon. It's a great conversation. They're both two colorful people, and it was a lot of fun, and they brought up a lot of issues, and talking about wildcrafting is just not a free-for-all. So without further ado, here are your hosts. Now here are your hosts, Candace Hunter and Susie Lupe.
I'm Candace Hunter.
Yes, and who am I? I am Susie Lupe.
Wow, we never mess that up, except for the last couple of weeks. You really, there's a few times we're like, oh, I forget the right word or whatever.
It was those cannabis shows.
All right. Oh, okay.
All right.
And
welcome to Real Herbalism Radio. Okay. Sorry about that.
Sue, you do a lot more wildcrafting than I do, don't you?
I do. Yeah. I pick things up and process them. Well, we have the Occupy Medical. We get a whole bunch of stuff I work with. Patty Leahy, and she's kind of she's the team leader for the gathering for all the herbs that go through Occupy Medical. And we have gallons of herbs and pounds of herbs that still have to be processed. Yeah. So it's her basement is full of herbs that are in process or waiting to go into process.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's pretty amazing.
Yes, she's got a tidy little process that she's got set up there, and we have people scheduled for when things will be ready and when we need to come in and get them, and other things that are better to get donated from already put together. And just, it's a thing. It's just a thing. Yeah. And then it's in my house, and then it's in the warehouse, and then it's at the clinic, and
But even at that, I mean, even all of that stuff, which is a huge operation in and of itself aside, you get out into nature and.
Oh, yes.
I've watched you. You're always picking stuff up.
I am.
You're not usually putting it in your ears, up your nose, or in your eyes.
Trying not to, yes.
But for the most part, you're picking up a lot of
stuff. I'm out there a couple of days a week. So it's and like what Howie was talking about, the process is being out in nature is part of the wildcrafting. It's part of the herbal, whether you're putting things in your pocket or whether you're just taking pictures or you're just strolling around, noticing the changes. And I oftentimes wonder, this is this area here, I bet this would be a great place for this plant to show up because I notice it's changing. There's more water. There's a place that is in Springfield, and there's a little levee there, and there's all these cottonwoods, and we just had a flood in this area that's been in the news. And I was thinking, wow, with all that water, I bet this spring we could have a couple of these cottonwoods with oyster mushrooms growing on it. And indeed, yep. So that's one of the things about this weather that we have. It is hazardous, and it is very scary, but also it's great for things like mushrooms. That the oyster mushrooms depend on cold weather after some warm weather in order to burst out.
Right.
So the one that I found, and Dave has a picture of me, the cottonwood had fallen over because it was basically underwater.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, but the oyster mushrooms had bloomed on the tree itself, and then it fell over. And so the picture is I am standing on this tree that is mostly underwater, and I'm picking the oyster mushrooms that are also mostly underwater.
Classic.
Yeah, I know. Safety first,
Yeah. One of the things that we didn't talk about a lot on the show, but that I've always appreciated when I've gone out with you in the woods, is that you're always picking up things, including things other human beings have left behind.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is also part of the crafting. Is, taking care of the area, including removing any junk you find that doesn't belong there.
Yeah, because that's not honorable to plastic bags and crud like that. That's horrible. That makes it bad for everybody. And then when you're going up there and you're filling your pockets with garbage, and then when on the trip back, like, oh, it's pretty now. And, you have a sense of pride, also a sense of belonging because you're part of that. It's an interaction. So it feels like a good healing.
Yeah. Well, the trees and the plants appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah. I hope so. Yep.
Oh, they do.
Okay. All right.
I've heard.
I believe you.
I listen. They tell me. Yeah. I appreciate it.
That neurotic old lady is really helping out today.
Sure, she may have climbed up higher than we wanted her to to get those crazy oyster mushrooms, but then she picked up some of the crap and the plastic.
Yep.
So we'll forgive her. She can take the oysters. It's good.
Nice. Yep. But I didn't take them all. I just took enough for like 3 trays in my food dryer. Nice. That's all I wanted. And that is something that they touched on a little bit, but I know Howie's always been this thing about herbalist and just people going in and picking, and you figuring out your inventory ahead of time is part of that process too.
Yeah.
What do you need, and what are not what would be exciting to have, but what do you actually need? Because it's dishonorable to take a whole bunch of stuff and then just let it rot.
Right. Yes. What you take from the wilderness or the local park or wherever you should use. Don't let it go bad. That's a sin.
Yeah. And don't find some fake use for it either.
I don't use that word lightly, but that's a sin.
Yeah, that's nasty. I had a herb exchange that there was a bunch of us that gathered together, and we were all sharing things that we had. And that's another way of, you end up with extra or a deficit at some point, even as careful as you might try to be. And I had like a couple packages of different vegetable seeds and, or whatever. And I was sharing that, and then some like herbs that had grown in my garden that had just gone crazy. Yeah. So sharing those, and this person herbalist comes in, and she plops down this huge bag of seeds, and they are all these like it was a native limation or something seed. She says it's very, very unusual to find this plant, and I found a whole field of them, so I just harvested all of these seeds. I'm talking a huge bag of those seeds. So she'd done a lot of work to collect them all, and she goes, and I just don't know what to do with them all. Like,
maybe go sprinkle them back in that field.
Yeah, why would you do that? And it's like, well, if you guys could just take a few, I would only grow a couple of these.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why when you buy packets of seeds from places like Strictly Medicinal Seeds, there's like maybe 10 or 20 in there. How many do you really need?
How much do you really need? Yeah, just thinking about, I didn't know too much about the plant itself, and the herbalist didn't know too much about it.
That's even worse.
So there was so many times when I'm listening to her talk, and just, my only thought is, why? Why? Like I like learning about them too, but it was.
Yeah, I have to admit that there have been times where I have harvested quite a lot, like, the gallon of sage tincture that I've made in any given year. But
sure.
But I'm also I'm very, like, I'm not going to make more sage tincture until I've used up all that I have.
Right.
And that gallon was a gallon for just my little family. So, it's a little ridiculous, but I didn't need to buy or I didn't need to harvest any more sage for tincture for several years, and I didn't. And, I take good care of the medicine that I've got, and I treat it with respect.
Right.
I don't let things, just go.
Yeah.
Because that's not respectful.
Right. And overdoing it like that is a classic greenhorn move. We've all done that.
Right. Yeah.
There
have been so many times. I mean, I've got right now, I admit I've got about 2 gallons of St. John's wort oil because I was making Dragon's Kiss salve a lot. And then I'm not.
Right.
So, you're planning for, I was selling it and selling a lot of it. And then I just haven't really marketed it much. So I haven't sold that much. So I've got this large amount of oil stored in my refrigerator, taking up a lot of space. And I'm thinking, oh, gosh. And we're, not practicing in a sport that requires nearly as much healing from bruises,
sure,
as we once were. So, that happens.
Right.
Or there's the year where you thought you had plenty of elecampane, easily plenty. And then the whole family got sick twice with the flu, or the throat thing that lasts for like a month each time. And, 6 weeks into it, you're out.
Right. Yeah.
And you thought that half a pound you had stored was plenty, but no, now you're out.
Yeah.
So it can be hard to predict.
Yep. Yeah. And I also, in the herb world, in this clinic that I have, I will get offered, there's some things that I get offered every year, just huge amounts of it. I don't even accept comfrey anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say
they're
comfrey.
Just comfrey.
Yeah.
I've got comfrey. I bet you do.
Yeah.
I bet you have comfrey. And I have specific people that I'm getting lemon balm from.
Nice. Yeah.
Just because if I just open those floodgates,
because there's so much.
There's so much. It was introduced here in this area, and if you listen to the podcast 184, then Howie talks about that as well. It's just there's lemon balm as far as the eye can see. So we don't really need any more of that. And I have tried freezing it.
How'd that work?
If you freeze it and you put it in small bags, then it's fine. And then when you don't defrost it, just throw it in. Just throw it in your crock pot or your Instant Pot or whatever when you're making whatever you're making. Like don't. Yeah. That is because it'll turn black if it starts to defrost.
Right, and then you'll end up losing.
Yep,
it won't be worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a fragile little plant, and there's a lot you can do with dry too. But the lemon balm dry, the chlorophyll just leaches out. Right. Even preserved the way I've got it preserved.
Yeah, the chlorophyll part of it you're going to need to get from something else.
Yep. Yeah. And the smell, you don't have the smell in it. A year-old lemon balm dried. No. So it's something that we have a lot of, and I am not asking for donations of that.
Yeah, please to not so much so.
Right. Not if somebody wants to donate lemon balm tincture. Yeah. But even then, I've had people that are donating things that it was their first time doing, and the tincture itself was bland. Yeah. There was hardly anything there. So I was like, oh, yeah, I want to be grateful, but I don't want to.
But then you're going to have to go and
you have to learn more how to make this stuff.
Yeah.
So, but there's a learning curve in everything. It's an art form.
It's
definitely an art form. But anyway, getting back to wildcrafting.
Yeah. Well, I don't get out as often as you do. I'm trying to change that in my life, but parent running businesses, it's hard.
Sure.
It's hard for me to get out. And so my solution to not getting out, and which, is not optimum, is I tend to buy seeds and grow plants instead.
Mm-hmm.
So like this year for the first time, I started a peony plant. I could buy them.
A white peony?
Yeah, white peony. And I could buy them from the local nurseries because they do have them already grown. But I decided I wanted to develop the relationship with the plant. I wanted to start it from seed. Mm-hmm. And so that's one that should grow in our area just fine. No problem.
Sure.
And I know that one's going to probably take a couple of years to actually germinate. And I'm okay with that too. For the most part, I buy, seeds, or I buy starts of plants so that, I can get to know the plant growing in my environment. And normally I don't buy things that are going to take very long to germinate because I don't have a very large house. I don't have a greenhouse.
Right.
I'm just a little city lot, but one of the herbs that Christina talked about, I've read about, and I'd really like to get to know better would be yerba mansa.
Oh.
And I definitely don't live in the desert anywhere near the hot kind of climate that yerba mansa likes. Mm-hmm. So I decided that we'll see what happens. I bought some seeds.
Oh, wow.
Strictly Medicinal Seeds has them. And I was like, I'll give it a try. And even if it doesn't super love my climate and all of that I can provide, because we do have a damp, cold winters, and our nights get pretty cold, and I don't know if it's going to like that. Our days can be nice and warm if I get it in a nice sunny spot once it germinates.
Right.
But germinating is probably going to be hard because it requires a really warm area. Mm-hmm. But then again, I've got a cabinet that we call the proofing cabinet, which is just really a cabinet for plates and stuff that's right above our espresso machine. So it's always hot.
Oh.
So I put it in the proofing cabinet and we'll see, and once it starts to sprout, it can't go in that cabinet anymore because it's light.
Yeah.
But I figure it likes, as far as I understand, it likes really hot weather for sprouting. So we'll see.
And your yard, you have different kind of biomes in different parts of it. There's the side that has it's got the tree there, so it's shadier, and then the back, your back 40 that has that gravel, so that's definitely warmer. So that's probably where you're thinking of putting it.
Yeah, the farm gets nice and hot, and I figure if I put it in a pot out there, then in the farm where it can be hot, and then I can either bring it in at night if it seems like I need to, or I can move it around to keep it in the more sunnier areas, So we'll see. I mean, it may not last very long with me in my, Willamette Valley climate, but it's one of the ways that I can reach out to that plant because I know I'm not going to ever wildcraft it. I don't know that I'll ever have a chance to see her in her environment. If I'm fortunate at some point in the future, I will receive some small amount of it that I can give it a try as medicine, just on a really, small family, personal kind of level. But it's a plant I've wanted to get to know better. She talked about creosote bush, or the Lorea.
Yeah.
And that's one that I have seen and met in the desert.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, for me, I've only been to the desert a few times.
Right.
Like I have fingers left over on one hand when I start counting out how many times I've been in the low desert where I could actually meet her. So,
yeah.
So I've met the plant, and I don't buy that. I only use what's gifted to me from people who are from the desert.
Right.
And
like Christina.
Christina, yeah. And she has in fact gifted me with some. And, so I use it very sparingly. I really love that plant. And I feel like it's okay for me to use it because I've got a relationship, however distant it might be.
Sure.
But I've at least I've gotten to know the plant a little bit.
Yeah. And you don't need much with it. You don't really need much. So that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's another part of it is understanding the plants that you have and how much you're going to use and how much with certain plants are so potent that you don't really need
very little.
Yeah. Even if you were, even in my clinic, I don't use that much creosote. It's just because it's so just a little goes a long way.
Little goes a long way. Yeah.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah.
So there's that feast or famine thing that happens. But given the other thing is learning when you have the famine, learning what are the other plants that have similar properties. And that's part of wildcrafting too, because that some plants they're not good to harvest every single year. We're losing our birches here.
Yeah.
Which is a big part of our foot bath at the clinic.
That's going to be a problem.
Yep. That's going to be a huge problem.
Although cottonwood shares quite a few properties. So
yep. Yeah.
Cottonwood is living, is very happy in our area.
Good God. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and listeners, if you're a Herbal Nerd Society member, then April is the time when we are focusing on putting out poplar, cottonwood, balm and Gilead. It's all kind of the same thing. Articles. So you can, if you're interested, then I would encourage you to take a look at the Herbal Nerd Society and pop into one of those articles because that's our deal.
Cottonwood and poplar is one of those underused, underspoken of trees. People go straight to birch,
right? Which
is great. Birch is a good tree, and in areas where it's a new forest or recovering forest, they do grow in abundance.
Yep.
But poplar and cottonwood, those trees are also growing in quite abundance. And,
quite true.
And oftentimes they are almost like they have so many suckers that they can be frustrating to people.
Oh, yes, they certainly can. And the puffs, they're a messy tree.
Yeah, people complain that they're a messy tree. Personally, I don't find that to be a problem at all. But then again, I also don't mind the Douglas fir branches and needles and cones that people complain about. So
right. Yeah,
I think humans are more messy than trees, and I don't think we have the right to complain about any tree making any mess because, really?
Yep. But I think it's a cool thing to harvest the native plants very, very carefully. Like Doug fir, what you're talking about, those are all over the place. They are native, but they're far more now than there ever were in the 1800s because they've been farmed so much. I don't worry about harvesting those. And
they drop. I mean,
they drop stuff.
They drop branches for you, just like the cottonwoods. They drop their branches. So just harvest what they're dropping. And that's what they're saying is, hey, here's some medicine. Take it. So
a storm.
Yeah.
What I got. And the ones that have been introduced, I don't really have issues harvesting those. No problems. If I dig out a dandelion, I don't feel like, oh, dang. I know as Howie was talking about, when you're learning to wildcraft, treat every plant that you're wildcrafting as if it is precious and rare, because that's, even if it's not precious and rare, that's how you learn.
Yeah. I tend to treat them all as precious and rare, even when they're not, because they might be providing an important food source for the local birds, whatever, squirrels, whomever, just because the stuff that was supposed to be there, that was like naturally there 2,000 years ago, may not be there so much.
Right.
Again, humans have come in. I mean, asphalt is kind of like not belonging, right? That's not natural. I mean, all the buildings and everything, we've clear cut and we've destroyed so much forest and we've destroyed so much. And I'm like, well, I try to be careful with what is there because I don't know who's using it.
Yeah.
Or how it's helping the current environment.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. Yep. Well,
although in my front lawn, the blackberry must go. I'm sorry.
Right. And that is for people that don't live in this neighborhood of Oregon, the Oregon neighborhood.
Yeah.
Luther Burbank, the famous botanist, came through and said, I see a lot of native blackberry here. I bet you Himalayan blackberry or Armenian or whatever they're calling it, that would do really well here because that's a really great fruit producer. The blackberries are so big themselves. So I bet it would do great. And
it did.
He was right.
Yeah.
Right as rain. Was he right? So now it takes over acres.
Yes.
And underneath that blackberry, there's nothing growing.
Right. Yeah, it tends to crowd out everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So it's a problem.
Well, there was a place that we lived where there was a giant giant. It must have been like 30 feet by 30 feet patch of blackberry. And if you crawled into the center of it, you could find spots where the deer had gone through. And in the center of it, there was a lot of bed straw, the local cleavers.
Oh, uh-huh.
And the deer would bed down in the middle of that blackberry patch. And they had to have been safe as anything.
Oh, yeah, you bet.
Because not much wanted to go through there. And then there was this wonderful patch of bed straw right in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost as if someone had planted it deliberately, though definitely in that area it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
So
you're crawling around in blackberry bushes?
Yeah. Yeah, I was crawling through a blackberry bush with my young son, although he decided he didn't want to go very far in and he went back out and played. Well, I crawled in because I was getting blackberries.
I see. You were harvesting the blackberries.
I was harvesting the blackberries. Okay. And I just kept going deeper and deeper. And then suddenly there was the bed from the deer. And,
I see.
And you could see like deer scat and you could see depressions where they had clearly slept there that night. And I'm in there with my duster jacket on, which those are quite warm.
Yeah, they are.
Oilcloth. It was like, what was that, late August?
You were wearing a duster in August?
Because it's the only thing I have that won't be destroyed or won't let my arms be destroyed by the blackberries as I'm climbing in and through the blackberries.
Got it.
So my son went in just a little bit. He was like maybe 5 years old. And he's like, yeah, no. So he went and played out on the other side, on the outside of the blackberries.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
yeah. It was lovely. We made mead with those blackberries.
Oh, yummy.
It was good. It was really good stuff.
I would like you guys to start doing that again.
We're just now getting down to the stuff that we are saving for cooking. And we have a lot of cooking mead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sorry, people, but tomatoes don't make a good mead.
I was just thinking of that. That was horrible.
Or pea pod.
I like the pea pod mead.
Or carrot.
I do like the carrot mead. And the beet mead.
Yes.
Why?
Well, no. Beet mead was good.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the beet mead.
Carrot and the pea.
But the carrot, the pea pod, and the tomato.
They are good for cooking, too.
They're really good for cooking.
True.
They're great for cooking.
But they did not make a great glass of mead.
No.
I thought the pea pod made a nice taste.
No.
I disagreed with you.
I disagree with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the problem with Candace. When she starts doing something, she doesn't just stick to tried and true. She wants to try all the different things.
I like to experiment.
And then,
Yes,
we're left with
does.
cases of experimentation that no one's going to drink. But it is fun because, we go into the garage where the meat is stored and, there's stuff from 09, 08.
From a decade ago.
Yeah. And which is really
and some
fun.
of that is quite nice.
Oh yeah, there's a couple
vintage
vintner's reserves, if you will, that I haven't shared with anybody. And maybe when Candace can actually drink wine again, we'll sip and hopefully be able to still have the elderberry because there's like 1 or 2 bottles left. I found a strawberry the other day from that time.
Boy, that pear that y'all made.
Yeah, so there's some really good ones there that are still there. But I did have a vintage one a few weeks ago, I think it was maybe a month ago, and started to notice that
it was starting to go bad.
It's starting to not be in peak at peak point.
Well, we should chug it. We
chug it.
Well, okay, maybe chug isn't the word.
We might just need to have a
mead party.
Or a mead party. Yeah.
Well, the next time one of our herbalists come into town for an interview, maybe we'll break out the mead for an afternoon instead of going to the local mead shop. We have our mead here. So.
That's a great idea. We do have some visitors scheduled for the upcoming season.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, I know. Do we think we're keeping that as a secret, though?
Little secret.
Secret.
Yep.
So, if you are not going to get out and wildcraft, I do advise that you look at good herbal seed producers like Strictly Medicinal Seeds, and there's a few others.
Yeah,
I remember. I always go to the same one just because I know they're in the Willamette Valley. So
Territorial.
Territorial.
Yeah. Yep. Log House.
Yep.
Yep.
And I know there's quite a few good ones.
Yeah, and wherever your area, go into master gardeners and seeing what has been donated to master gardeners is a good indicator that this is a responsible company.
Yeah.
So that's one way of finding out if you just have nowhere else.
Yeah. So look for some seeds and try growing a few of the plants, especially the ones that don't grow maybe in your climate. You're not going to really be able to get to know the plant directly from, just getting out in the wild with them. But maybe you buy them through, other wildcrafters, or you buy them through, herb shops online and that sort of thing. Try growing the seeds. I mean, the seed packet doesn't cost that much.
Right, sure.
It's a fun experiment.
Sure. Cheaper than a cup of coffee.
Sure is.
Yep.
So if you're going out to wildcraft, do it responsibly. Remember, you're not the only one in the woods.
Yep.
So with that,
put an herb on it.
Statements made about herbs and products on this podcast have not been evaluated by the United States Food and Drug Administration, FDA, and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided on this podcast or any affiliated websites is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use the information on this podcast and its affiliate websites for a diagnosis or treatment of any health problem. Always consult a healthcare professional before starting any new vitamin supplements, diet, or exercise program before taking any medication.